Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday out there, and have a great weekend ahead. I'm going to be out at the Panthers Parade tomorrow. If you guys want to check that out, we'll have live coverage for you on 560 WQAM on the Odyssey app. Don't know if we're going to video stream or not. I hope we are. Not that we could video stream the parade. That'd be kind of hard. Boots on the ground. I'm not sure. I'd like to, but it depends. I don't know what the Wi-Fi situation is going to be there, and that can kind of dictate whether or not we're going to video stream it or not. I will maybe put a post video stream of it, like maybe throw like a GoPro on there or something like that, and we can run it back afterwards. But either way, it'll at least be on the Odyssey app. Check it out free there, and we'll get silly. Looking forward to be boots on the ground for that. As far as the Miami Heat are concerned, the wait of Kevin Durant continues as we are days away from the Miami Heat using their 20th pick in the first round. We think there's going to be a draft party at the Kaseya Center. We'll also be doing some live coverage from there. Myself and pregame host Alejandro Solana will be there, boots on the ground, doing a show. We should be having some Heat legends stop by, so that should be a really cool thing. That one we will stream, so you guys can check that on out as well. That should be a lot of fun, as long as the Miami Heat have their pick and they're not trading it for Kevin Durant. We'll see. There was a report yesterday. The Marc Stein newsletter got put out yesterday as far as Kevin Durant is concerned. They first reported that, that Suns' ongoing negotiations with teams such as Houston, Miami, and Minnesota have left various rival front offices under the impression, barring a significant weekend shift in the state of talks, the discussions will likely stretch into next week, which sounds like everybody wants to enjoy their weekend. Plus, there's the finals. I do think there's a little level of it's one thing to train, respectfully, there's one thing to train Desmond Bane, which will get some headlines for sure, but I think that the Kevin Durant thing, I kind of feel like it wants its own place. So maybe some of these teams are just like, you know what, what's the big deal? Let's just get to the talks. We know where they are. We know where we're at to pull the trigger before the draft, and that's where it is. I can't wait for these things to be done. I don't know how I did a whole summer of Damian Lillard. I'm already exhausted by this, but I think it's just because this one is the Dame thing was just like, hey, we knew Gio Cronin was being a big baby, and we knew where Damian Lillard specifically wanted to go, and we were just waiting and doing more waiting and more waiting and more waiting. The Kevin Durant thing, it is fascinating because I think he's really one of the true dominoes that can be out there. People talk all the time. They're like, oh, I don't know. What is it going to be? There's not a lot of stuff out there right now. There's not a lot of great courses for plan B. We've talked about some of them, the Kumingas, the DeRozans. Is Ja Morant going to be available? Zion doesn't seem to be available. Trae Young. I mean, I guess we'll find out. We won't really find out again until these extensions start either getting turned down or not signed about who's going to be making a stink or whatnot. But anyway, the thing that was interesting with this is, it kind of gives a light of just how rough things seem to be going for the Suns and their negotiations. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when Brian Gregory had his introductory press conference, and I'm like, man, rookie GM, a lot of pressure on him. Doesn't want to screw this up, doesn't want to seem like a boob. The idea that they're going to recoup what they thought they were going to get for what they traded for Kevin Durant is a little ridiculous. We know that they want to get in the Houston thing because Houston has the rights to their pick. But the interesting part of this is more of like what is not being offered up. And the couple of teams that have been like wild card teams, like for example, the Raptors are one of those teams. And the Raptors have the number 9 pick, which obviously they would want to be in there. But apparently, this was interesting. One of the things that the Suns want is a big man. And even Toronto, who's kind of been lingering in the ether of all of this, there was a report from Mike Grangie who said that the Toronto Raptors, who thought they would give up Jakob Poeltl for him, apparently they won't even give up Jakob Poeltl for Kevin Durant. And that just kind of shows where things are at. As far as Miami's concerned, the interesting update here, and this has been around, is that the Miami Heat are firmly against, this is what they report, firmly against including standout rookie center Kel'el Ware in their offers for Durant, sources say. Without Ware in a theoretical trade, Phoenix is presumed to be seeking a future first-round draft capital from Miami to help deliver Durant to South Beach at long last. And that feels to me like, would the Heat be willing to give more than 20? Would they throw in one more first-round pick for Kevin Durant? Going to be an interesting question, right? Like, what they can recoup for him, and where things go from there. But it is, I think, good. Like Miami being able to pull this off without giving up Kel'el Ware, you're gonna have a hard time getting a negative reaction from me about this. I don't want them to give up Nikola Jovic, but I understand why that maybe is the line of demarcation of where they're going to have to go. But I also think for those two young guys, not Jaime, not Pella, but for those two young guys, I feel like including them takes away some draft capital. So like there's a push-pull there, because Miami has taken guys 3 years in a row, which is very interesting for Miami. That's not a position they've been in frequently, and now this is going to be presumably their 4th year in a row if they don't pull this off. And this is a pick that they traded for. Their pick goes to OKC. But I do, it is good to hear like Miami having that kind of strong conviction in Kel'el. And I think a lot of that has to do with Bam. I think that the idea that if they get Bam Adebayo comfortable about where he's at right now, that they are, that they liked, and I think they know he liked being where he's at. And it's not that he can't flip the switch and become the 5 again. There's so much talk. Dude, come on. You've seen him make finals run at that position. Like, let's not be silly. You know that he's capable of doing it. I just don't think over a grind of a regular season and even some playoff matchups he wants to do it all the time. But much like Draymond Green with the Warriors, like you have that card, but you don't want to play it all the time. But it is, but there's also a part of me that's like, if Kel'el's not in it, does the deal get done, right? Like, because if Houston does have that give the rights back pick, does 20 in tight, like, because everybody else who's in these talks is seemingly higher in the draft lottery. So, where do you go from there? Like, what is the ace up your sleeve that you want to go to, other than if it's Minnesota, Durant doesn't want to go there. If it's Toronto, Durant doesn't want to go there. How interested are the Spurs and the Rockets, right? Like, we've kind of covered all of that. But to me, like, the trump card was always going to be, if they include Ware, then you're getting Kevin Durant. If they don't, okay, like, then it becomes a game of, can you get Kevin Durant without giving up Kel'el? That's going to be the interesting standoff there with this whole trade talks. The other thing that was interesting in Marc Stein's piece, that he had some intel on the Miami Heat. He said, another valuable footnote stemming from this week's widespread Durant talks. League sources say several teams have registered interest in Suns' Cody Martin. The veteran swingman could very well factor into any multi-team deal that Phoenix inevitably puts together to ship out Kevin Durant. Miami, to name one example, has known to have an affinity for Martin, sources say. The Heat certainly developed familiarity with Martin while Miami rostered his twin brother Caleb. Very interesting. We've talked about, even in the lead up to the draft, the Heat needing to add more athleticism on the wing, more defenders. Losing Caleb certainly did hurt them, even though he didn't have the best season and was basically ousted from Philadelphia in 2 seconds. The interesting thing with Cody is, like, Cody's always been looked upon as, like, the higher prospect. It's funny how Caleb went from end of the roster guy, J. Cole calling up Caron Butler, give this guy a shot, and turns into this just two-way demon. And the funny thing with Caleb, that's always been, I've had conversations with him about it, like, he was always known as, like, the offensive brother. Like, he was known as the guy that, like, didn't defend enough. And while he is king of the long too, that dude, I mean, nearly won a conference finals MVP, was an absolute monster. Didn't have the greatest finals in the world to follow it up, but certainly was a huge piece in Miami's success over the last couple of years. And his brother, I mean, like, every playoff run, you'd go there, and there was Cody sitting on the seats next to the Heat bench, essentially watching his brother warm up before these games got going. So if the Heat went down that road, I think that's interesting if you can get somebody like him, because you would think he's going to have some knowledge of what the Heat got going on here. And then the other piece of it is that's interesting. There was a little bit of like, right, it seemed like there was a little bit of like agent heat tension with the Martin negotiations because, they offered him a deal to stay. He ends up leaving, presumably takes a lot less, doesn't stay with the team that signs him. So maybe there's like a little bit of hard feelings there because I believe they're represented by the same agent. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, Cody's not exactly, I think, in the position where it's like, oh, I refuse to be sent to Miami. He may actually look at it and be like, well, I know that team is going to get the most out of me. And the other thing is, it was cool. I don't know if you guys saw on it was Get Up yesterday, but Markieff Morris, who did not have a long stint with Miami, but has always had like an affinity for Miami. The Morris twins working out at the Heat facility and things like that, and he's been like steadfast. Shout out to Markieff Morris. That he's been like, I think Giannis should go to Miami. I think Kevin Durant should go to Miami. And everybody's like, really? And like, remember, Markieff Morris started this like months ago. And he's like, the place they should go is Miami. And he was even saying, for a guy who basically spent most of the season injured because Nikola Jokic did this dirty hit on him and messed up his neck, and we had the whole drama with the Joker brothers. This guy was saying that was the best brand of basketball I've ever seen in my life. I loved playing with the Miami Heat and had a lot of glowing things to say about Eric Spoelstra. Basically said everything because he was on set with Udonis Haslem that Udonis Haslem is a little bit hesitant to say because he doesn't want to step into the tampering hornet's nest. So I don't know. I just thought that was a very interesting thing. The final thing from Marc Stein, and then this is on the picks, is the Sun sources continue to believe that a deal they consider palatable can materialize before the first night of the draft. Phoenix is quietly hoping for some time that the return from first-year new GM Brian Gregory will include a draft pick that it can immediately use in Wednesday night's proceedings. Houston's number 10 pick, of course, initially belonged to Phoenix, as well as those Suns' first-round pick in the Rockets trade. League sources say that the Suns' Durant discussions in recent days have likewise featured attempts to coax Toronto to part with the number 9 overall pick, Minnesota's number 17 overall pick, or Miami's turn at 20. Yet, it's also clear that the Suns' conversations at this point have fallen short in delivering what they consider a palatable return after the stunning haul surrendered in February 2023 to acquire Durant. Gregory is obviously under a considerable amount of scrutiny as he negotiates his first major transaction in his first full-time season. So, yeah, we'll see, man. I have a hard time believing if the Heat trade for Durant that 20's not going to be in there. That kind of seems – I feel like that's obvious. If the Heat are able to do this without – I mean, I don't even know why they would do it, to be honest with you. So it really does feel like if the Heat are getting Kevin Durant, they're probably not picking at 20, which makes all this draft research I'm going to do this weekend. Trust me, the more research I do, the more likely Kevin Durant will be traded to the Miami Heat because it'll all be just thrown in the garbage for no reason. But yeah, that's where we're at with that new Stein intel that the Heat very, very unlikely to deal Kel'el Ware, and there's been a lot of like Heat momentum, I guess you could say, but it's hard to judge. Like I'm really not trying to get too overly excited with this stuff because it's all posturing. It's all what I do think it speaks to is I think the Heat are, and I talked about this a couple days ago, but it does seem like it's ringing truer in the stuff that's come out. It feels to me like the Heat are the most eager to get Kevin Durant, more so than Houston, maybe Minnesota, but Minnesota doesn't want him if he don't want to be there. And then the Spurs have been very cold on it. So like out of all the teams, kind of like a game of musical chairs, it feels a little bit like, oh, the Miami Heat are kind of the team right here where it's like, this is the best fit, and this is what the best haul is going to be.